Lately, I hear this question almost weekly. Why does it feel like everyone is getting really sick younger? For decades, age worked as a shortcut in medicine. Older age meant more time for exposure, more wear and tear, more opportunity for disease to develop. So we associated heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and even certain cancers with later in life. But age itself was never the cause. Age was just a proxy for exposure over time. And what we're seeing now isn't mysterious. It's a shift in when those exposures began. Conditions like obesity, type 2 diabetes are starting earlier, which we have seen for years, and both are associated with chronic inflammation over time. Now, inflammation that doesn't stay isolated, it affects the heart, the lungs, and the immune system. And even conditions such as asthma have known to be potentiated or worsened by inflammation as well. Risk doesn't wait for your birthday. Risk accumulates based on how often the body is stressed, how intensely it's stressed, and whether it ever fully recovers. And we're talking about metabolic stress. If metabolic strain, sleep deprivation, inflammation, and chronic stress starts in the teens and tweens and 20s, you don't need decades to see those consequences. What we often normalize as rites of passage, so we're talking excessive screen time, doom scrolling, binge drinking, prolonged sedentary behavior, may not feel alarming in the moment, but over time they stack. And that stack is showing up even earlier. When people hear metabolic disease, they usually think diabetes, but metabolic health actually includes blood pressure regulation, cholesterol handling, insulin sensitivity, fat distribution, inflammatory signaling. And this is important. And the reason why this is important is because sometimes these disease processes are thought of, oh, everyone has a little high blood pressure, or it's no big deal, or I'll just do my lifestyle modifications. And then we forget the consistency aspect of it. And so we end up not doing much of anything. Oftentimes I even hear things like, oh, I've been healthy all of my life, and I'm looking at people's vital signs and labs from a recent ED visit, and that story shows me that although you didn't recognize that was there, it has already been there. So since we're seeing that and things like obesity beginning much earlier, insulin resistance in young adults, so we're talking type 2 diabetes, not type 1, hypertension, in people who look outwardly fit, this doesn't cause immediate collapse. It quietly changes how the body handles the stress, the illness and injury, and recovery. And so when we think about that in a world where everyone is getting smaller and skinnier, yes, on the outside, we look one way, but on the inside, we may be aged 10, 20, 30 years based on our habits and what we're taking into our body. One of the biggest generational differences we see is stress without recovery. I'll repeat, stress without recovery. This generation experienced constant digital stimulation. My phone is constantly going off. I am constantly getting emails, and I have to respond to a ton of different things electronically. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. We have tons of books of people are talking about productivity and how to manage the stress that is constantly abundant in our lives, and not how to take away that stress. So the pressure to perform continuously is there. On top of that, it can increase things like anxiety and depression, which definitely mess with sleep. Again, we were talking about things like doom scrolling. We're talking about things such as staying up late to watch a television episode, things of that nature. And this prevalence is happening in young adults. In my clinic, I see it all the time. Parents are concerned about the child's sleep, and the kid is up all night playing video games or texting on the phone. And those habits don't die once they come out of their mother or father's home. And so then they take those into young adulthood and then later on in life. And so a habit I've been working on for 10, 15, 20 years doesn't just go away overnight. And that can cause significant changes on the body as well. And as you know, all of this matters medically. Chronic stress increases inflammation. It alters immune signaling. It disrupts sleep architecture. It worsens metabolic health. This isn't about being mentally weak. This is physiology. When bodies are exhausted, people compensate. Prescription stimulants, energy drinks, vaping, and nicotine often serve the same purpose. So these substances that we use to compensate do things like increase our heart rate, increase our blood pressure, and disrupt our sleep cycles. How many times have you taken an energy drink or a coffee or what have you, whatever stimulant, at about 2 o'clock, and then you're looking at the wall or watching TV or scrolling, and it's 10:30, 11:30, when you know you have to get back up at 7. And you're not giving yourself enough time to sleep. Not to mention, when you're sleeping, things such as your REM cycle and deep sleep are often altered as well from these different stimulants that can cause a less restful sleep. All these things can increase your vascular strain, promote inflammation, as I mentioned earlier, and none of this does guarantee disease. So this is not meant to scare you, but this can significantly contribute. And this is layered on top of all that chronic stress and metabolic strains, and it accelerates risk significantly. Patients often say, "This came out of nowhere," but medicine rarely sees true out of nowhere. What we usually see is years of silent strain and triggering events, and then a diagnosis. The body is amazing, and it often compensates until it can't. Youth doesn't mean invincible. It means adaptable until limits are crossed. And this is why in pediatrics, discussions surrounding metabolic risk matters. It's not just telling the kids to go outside and play. It's recognizing what families pass down: food preparation, daily habits, stress patterns, and nutrition knowledge. All of it shapes long-term health. When people sense vulnerability, they look for control. Supplements promise that control. But for the general healthy population, they don't prevent heart disease, they don't prevent cancer, and they don't reverse metabolic dysfunction. There is no magic formula, no matter the cost or the 5-star reviews. Many essential vitamins and minerals come from real food. And there is no supplement that outperforms a 15-minute walk, a stretch break at work, or real sleep. What consistently lowers risk across populations isn't flashy. Sleep, getting 8 to 9, sometimes 10 hours of sleep a night. Movement, so body strength and aerobic activity. Even a walk is still better. Hitting 10,000 steps a day is something that I counsel with patients. Meet yourself where you can. If you work inside of an office building and it has some stairs, why don't you go for your 15-minute break, hit the stairs for about 15 minutes and see if that can help out. Other things like avoiding nicotine. Try to regulate your stress. Plan your days a little more efficiently. And things like productivity can also help as well. And then invest in a good PCP, preventative care and continuity. This is important. You don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know, who would you go to? An expert. Get your labs, get your screenings, know early. Talk to your family. What runs in your family? We're not asking for perfection. We're asking for consistency. And if you can do a little bit each day, it will add up. And you'll have it as a habit, just like all of the other habits that you've created. And you'll start to swap out and switch. And if you feel like you can't do it alone, your primary care doctor can work as an accountability partner. This person will sit down with you and discuss your goals, and not just athletic goals, not just workout goals, but real structured goals for your disease process as well. Also, if we notice things such as heart disease runs in your family, and unfortunately, several people in your family have had different coronary artery events or heart attacks before the age of 50, how can I prevent that? How can I make sure that that doesn't happen to me? So it is good to make sure you have someone with that knowledge to provide that advice to you. And the good news is young bodies are still highly modifiable. So if you're younger, you have time to change those patterns. And even if you're older, there may be some damage, but it's not done until it's over, if you know what I mean. So you still have time as well. This isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to explain why you're noticing this very real and non-random fact. Again, youth doesn't mean protected anymore, but it does mean time. This is KCMD Explains. If this helped, connect the dots, save it, share it, and stay curious. Thank you.